top bantamweight, Cody Stamann, who's back in action on the first pay-per-view of 2022, where he'll be facing Said Nurmagomedov. Cody, it's been a long time since we last spoke. Good to sit down. How are things with you today?
Good. Just resting before a tough day of training. This is like my last hard week of camp, so I'm looking forward to kind of coasting into the fight. This is I'm just banged up. I'm tired. I'm ready to get the shit over with.
It's a horrible question to ask, but I'm going to ask you it nonetheless. What is it like being scheduled early to mid-January, where you've got to forgo the sacrifices of Christmas and New Year around weight and all of
that? I did it last year, and then that fight got canceled. And I swore I wouldn't do it again. I swore I'm not gonna not do the holidays, But I went home last year and it was like torture. I trained at home. Everyone's eating and joyous, and I'm like sitting there just happy to see my family. At the same time, I'm just pissed off because I can't eat anything and get my workouts in every day. And it was really, really, really hard. It took a ton of discipline. And here I am doing that shit all over again this year. And same thing. But I stayed in Vegas this year. Yeah. As you can see, my Christmas tree up. I haven't even touched that damn thing. It's tough. It's tough. I don't wish this on anyone.
I got the chance to speak to Eric Nixon before Christmas. I think the week before Christmas, 18, 19, something like that. And I asked him about the schedule of the gym, and he said it'd be open Christmas morning, and then there'd be a short practice, and Boxing Day it would be virtually the same. What was your training like? When were you in the gym over the Christmas period?
I mean, I trained Christmas Eve, and then the day after Christmas I trained. I didn't. Saturdays are my day off, so it just fell on the perfect.
Oh, okay.
Christmas been on a different day, I would have trained and had almost Christmas and just treated it like any other day. But luckily it was a Saturday, so I got to take the day off. But like New Year's Eve, training all those days, it's just it's weird because when you have a fight, it doesn't really feel like you get a holiday at all.
Yeah.
It's nice, you know what I mean? It gives you an excuse to maybe get out of the house or see somebody that you haven't seen, invite people over, but at the same time, your focus is kind of always elsewhere.
Yeah.
You don't get kind of just relax and enjoy that time the same way you do when you don't have a fight. But for me, it's like I'm not a kid anymore. It's like I'm not like 3 weeks before Christmas. I'm not like freaking out about what I'm gonna get. That bad, I'll go buy it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's talk about the matchup. As I mentioned, January 20th, you'll be facing Said Nurmagomedov, 3-1 in the UFC. What are your opinions on him as a style matchup?
I mean, he's tough, man. All those Dagestanis are tough. Good. I like the way he strikes. He's got that real slick, like Taekwondo kickboxing style. I see his record in the UFC, and 3-1. I think when I was 3-1 in the UFC, I was already number 7 in the world. I'd already fought tough guys. I don't think he's seen the level of opponents that I've seen in the cage, but that doesn't mean I get to underestimate him. That the number system in the UFC isn't, in my opinion, doesn't hold that much weight in regards to how good people really are. So I got to be, I have to be like sharp. I have to be really sharp, and I have to really show up on fight night. I can't have another night like I've had, the past couple. I can't not be there to fight and win. I have to be on my game because Said's one of those guys that, is well-rounded everywhere. And then on the outside, he throws spin kicks as good as I've seen anyone throw them. So, I got to keep my fucking hands up because if I don't, I might catch a foot right in the mouth.
You can't mention specifics, of course. I wouldn't expect you to, but as we mentioned there, just the one loss in the UFC to Raoni Barcelos. Anything you've seen from that fight, that watching the tape, that you think you can implement?
Yeah, I like the way Barcelos fought him. He pressured him. He kind of made him box a little more, kind of put him on his heels. Push the pace against him. I'm not sure that Said is one of those guys that, can really push a pace. I don't know that he can get dragged in the deep waters, you know. And I thought, you know, the pace setters of the bantamweight division got go after it. So I mean, I definitely feel like if it just comes to, you know, a war of attrition where him and I are just figuring it out, I can beat him. You know what I mean? No matter what. If we end up dragging this thing into just an all-out brawl, I know that it's going to be a tough night for him. You know, I think, you know, it's in Said's best interest to try to, you know, stay away from me and use his range. And I mean, all the obvious stuff, you know what I mean? You got a long, it's the guy that boxes and wrestles primarily. It's going to be in his interest to keep me the hell away from him. But can he do that for 15 minutes? I don't think so. I don't think anybody can. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't found a guy in the UFC that I can't take down if I decide to. I mean, I've taken down every single one of my opponents in the UFC before the UFC. You know, that I have is, there's an X factor that a fighter has. Like, I have a double leg that I don't think anyone can stop. So, you know, if I decide to take Said down, that's definitely an easy path to victory for me.
There's been a lot made of Coach Khabib and his undefeated record since he retired, and his corner is Cody Stamann the man to beat to break Khabib's undefeated coaching record?
I don't even know if Khabib coaches
corners, apparently corners.
Oh, does he corner him? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think he is his cousin, isn't he? So presumably, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, if Khabib's in the corner, I'm definitely going to be a little bit more aggressive in the wrestling department. You know what I mean? Just because I want to show him what USA wrestling is all about. You know, I think we're better wrestlers than the Russians. You know, I think that they just have a different style that maybe the guys in the US aren't used to. You know, we're more like double leg, single leg guys, and they're more of an upper body. They're a lot better at using the cage, but I'm really, really good at the cage. That's probably a specialty of mine in MMA. So if Khabib's in Said's corner, I'm going to take Said down 10 times. And I promise you that I'm capable of doing that. No matter how good his wrestling is, I have no idea. You know what I mean? He might be one of the better wrestlers I've faced. I don't know. But I'm going to take him down repetitively, especially if Khabib's in the corner.
You mentioned there about the differences between Russian sambo wrestling and American collegiate wrestling. Are you kind of saying that it's just a case of the rest of the world catching up with the Russian style, and then once they do in the next 3, 4, 5 years, it'll be a USA advantage?
It'll be different, right? Yeah, they're body lock guys. They're body lock guys. Single body lock. I mean, that's like the go-to. And I've been fortunate enough to work with a coach named Brian Harper, who was like the wall master. And he kind of saw this coming a long time ago. He talked about how those guys, you know, like they were pretty religious about working on the wall, and no one in the US did. And like Khabib proved it, you know what I mean? Like if he got you on the wall, he was going to take you down. And once he got guys on the ground, it was just a shit show. He was just murdering them. So, I don't really think that Said is going to be able to do that to me. I don't think anyone can do that to me, really. I think, you know, his best option is to keep this thing on his feet, because, I mean, as soon as we get into a grappling exchange, I really don't think that there's anyone that's better at, you know, scrambling to my feet or just getting a takedown offensively, like wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, if I could go back and do the Merab fight all over again, I think I would have honestly wrestled him more. I would have offensively wrestled more. And I think that would have been an easier way for me to win. You know, it's just like nobody wants to see that shit. Nobody wants to see you go out and take a guy down 40 times. You know what I mean? Especially if you're an American. If you're a Russian, everybody loves it. But if you're an American, like, oh, that's a lame prey guy. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go get a drink while this guy's fighting. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be that guy. I've heard that shit forever. You know what I mean? And I have you know, a boxing background. I can strike. It's just like, you know, when there's money on the line, like why? Like why risk, you know, getting punched and kicked in the head if I can just take your ass to the ground and beat the hell out of you and like win. You know what I mean? Collect my paycheck, go home and you know, celebrate another victory. Like I know I can do that against just about anybody. So it's just, you know, I've kind of let the fans formulate my game plan. You know, everyone's like, we don't want to watch a guy lay and pray, but it's like, you know, taking guys down isn't easy, and this is skills I've developed for, you know, 20 years. So, you know, if I need to use those skills to, you know, guarantee that I keep climbing this ladder, I'm going to.
Of course, it's mixed martial arts. That's why it's called it. You shouldn't in your own head say that certain moves that you're good at are off limits, should you? When you think about it,
you don't want to watch you getting takedowns. Watch Jake Paul box, because that's what you only at this point.
But you mentioned there as well, coming off the Merab Dvalishvili loss. I guess what I want to ask is, what do you think, looking back now, we're over 6 months removed from that fight, looking back, what was the key issue in your mind in that fight?
My footing, honest to God. If there's one thing that really messed me up in that fight, was the fact that I was just sliding all over the ring.
Yeah.
And I just could not stick to that canvas. And that, you know, that's like a bullshit excuse. Nobody wants to hear it. No, you know what I mean? Like if I told you afterwards, you know, I was telling my coach 17 rounds, I'm like, dude, I cannot set my feet. I cannot, around. I'm sliding all over. But every time I went to kick, I would slide. I just stopped kicking. I like planted my feet and put my hands down. And that was like the opposite of everything I wanted to do to fight. I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? It was just really slippery in there for whatever reason. And like that kind of messed with my mind. I started loading up on shots, and I came unglued mentally, really, in that fight. You know, like looking back, like even with everything against me, you know what I mean? Like in the wrestling exchanges, if he took me down, I got up immediately, or I reversed position. You know what I mean? Like I did the things I knew that I was capable of doing. You know what I mean? I got takedowns against him. It was just like if he had the best fight of his life and I had the worst, like it happened that night. And it was like just one of those experiences where you walk away and you're like, dude, I know for a fact I just got beat by somebody that I should beat 9 times out of 10, you know? And that was the hardest thing for me, was that like I put all the time in training and preparing for, you know, the pace and everything that Merab brings, and then, you know, on fight night I just straight up didn't show up. I wasn't the athlete that I'm capable of being. And, you know, that hurts worse than anything else. You know what I mean? Like to do all the work and to be prepared and to know that like you're better going into that fight, and to lose because, you know, you didn't go for it, or, you know, things didn't go right, you didn't make adjustments. Like that was like mentally for me, that was just like torture, just mental torture, you know. And I've had enough time to that. You know what I mean? I've left that in the past, and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to walk out of the cage with a feeling like that again. You know what I mean? Like if, you know what I mean? Like I get in there with someone that's more skilled than me, like no matter what, like at this point, like I'm just going to literally every single round, every single opportunity to get, I'm just going to empty the tank. Like, and that's just been the focus. You know what I mean? Like that's been the focus. You know what I mean? Like no matter what's happening in the round, like yesterday I did 4 rounds with 2 different guys, you know, and it was the focus, like my only focus was like going forward, and like if I got hit, I threw 8 punches. You know what I mean? Like that was my entire focus the round. And it's like I have the cardio and the balance and the ability to do that. And like and if I do, you know what I mean, in the cage, like I'm not sure there's many guys in the world that can beat me. It's just like I have to get in the cage and do that, you know. So you know, leading into this fight, like I know I just have to do the things that I know to do, and like I'll come out with my hand raised the way I have in every other fight. Because like when I first got into the UFC, it was like I was fighting guys on a regional level, and then being in the UFC, I'm in the top 10, and now I'm fighting like Brian Caraway and Aljamain Sterling, and like I didn't have the skills. I'd never even trained against guys that were that good. So sorry, my dogs are, hey, come here. Stop that. trying to talk to somebody right now. This freaking guy. Like I'd never competed against guys like that. But now that I've been in Vegas and I've seen like a different level of MMA, like my skills have caught up, you know, and I'm at a point now where like I know I can make a run at the top because I know that I had the experience and the level that it takes to do it. So it's about, you know, Said being the first step to, you know, me getting back to where I know I'm capable of being in the bantamweight division, and that's, you know, top 5.
I would go and say you've got one of the most well-rounded skill sets in this division. Your striking is immaculate. You've got great wrestling. Never really been in any trouble on the ground, with the exception of the Sterling fight. When we last spoke, you referenced the issues going into that fight. But coming off the back of these back-to-back losses for the first time in your career, is there something specific skill set-wise that you've been working on that you want to try and improve on, or you want to mitigate potential issues?
Knocking motherfuckers out. Honestly, if there's one thing that I've really focused on more than anything, it's hitting people harder. It's hurting people, really. I mean, because I have opportunities in fights, and it's almost like I'm touch barring. You know what I mean? Like I touch guys. I don't really try to like cream them. I touch them with shots, and instead of touching guys, like I want to hit somebody, and I want them to know, like, if that happens again, like it's over for them, you know? So like my focus has been hitting guys harder and completely shutting them down, because, you know, like when I boxed, I pretty much knocked everybody out. And like, I never really saw a judge in boxing. And then when I started doing MMA, I either choked or knocked everybody out. You know what I mean? Like my first 10 fights, I don't think one of them went past a minute, you know? So even in boxing, like I rarely saw a second round. And that was just because I was just like, honestly, I was terrified. Like I was terrified, but I was a good enough fan that I could hit people hard enough that they didn't want to continue, you know? And then somewhere I lost that, you know what I mean? It's almost like I focused so much on like building the skills and being elusive and fighting and, you know, not getting hit with big shots, that I stopped hitting people hard the way I did when I was young. And like, I've been trying to just get that back. You know, and against Said, like I'm gonna swing bombs at this kid. Like we're gonna find out. You know what I mean? Like, can he land that big shot on the outside? Maybe, but if I can get on the inside, I know that I can land that big shot, and I know that I can hurt him. And when I do, you know, I think it's just gonna be a landslide being to the end. You know, I don't want to keep going to the judges, because even though the Merab fight was really close, like when it was over, like I thought I won, and then I rewatched it and I still thought I won. And, you know, but that's just a matter of opinion, you know, and like the way that I fought, you know what I mean? Like shoulder rolling shots and stuff. You have to understand what's going on. You have to be like really, really sharp, you know what I mean? As a judge and as a commentator to understand like what's happening, you know what I mean? Like when you know, it looks like, you know, someone throws a punch at you and you go like this and you take it on the shoulder, you know what I mean? Like to the untrained eye, that just looks like you got smacked with a shot, but really, you know, I wasn't getting hit with a lot of those shots. And looking back, I'm like, that it's all about optics in this game. You know what I mean? Like who looks like they're winning? It doesn't even matter. You know, like Merab doesn't throw hard shots. You know what I mean? I can't think of a single time when I got hit in that fight and I was like, ouch. You know, and there's been other guys that threw hard and they hit me and it was like, whoa, this motherfucker can throw. But, you know, like it just optically it looked bad. And like going forward, like I want it to look like the guy I'm fighting does not stand a chance in there the whole time. So if it does go to a judge's decision, they can't possibly think to rob me of a victory. You know what I mean? But if I have it my way, we don't need judges. Not this time. Never again.
You mentioned there about you want to improve your knockout rate, your finishing rate. How, in your mind, do you do that? Is that a skill set thing? Is that sharpening tools with the likes of Eddie and Eric in the gym on the pads? How do you improve your finishing rate? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 1 or 2 finishes you've had in the UFC?
Zero.
Zero
finishes in the UFC. I mean, I've hurt guys, I've rocked guys, and I just haven't come up to clean up. I've had opportunities to submit guys. I haven't done it. And it's like, it's just like you have to, it's like anything else, you know what I mean? You have to train that, you know what I mean? So in the gym, I have an opportunity to, you know, either hit a dude with a bunch of shots on the ground or, you know, submit him, choke him. Like I've been choking him, you know what I mean? I've been finishing him. And same thing on my feet, you know, like when that big shot, you know, like presents itself, like I'm letting it go and I'm hitting the dude with everything I have and I'm knocking the shit out of him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many training partners I've knocked out since I fought Merab, but it's probably more than I have in my last, you know, 8 training camps combined. You know what I mean? Like I've been trying to knock guys out in the gym. I've been trying to submit guys in the gym. And that's just, you know what I mean? Like I'm just training myself to do that. You know what I mean? And for a long time, it was like, I didn't really get in those hard sparring sessions because I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to. And like, you know, I've gotten back to the hard sparring. I've gotten back to like the gritty sparring where it's like, okay, like, hey, there's an agreement between you and I. Before we start, you try to sit me down, like try to knock me out, and I'm going to do the same. And I haven't sparred like that in a really long time. I've been sparring like that lately. And I'm realizing that, you know, when I spar like that, I hurt people. And, you know what I mean? Like I can see guys don't want to spar with me anymore. You know what I mean? Like my huge list of training partners slowly shrunk into like a couple guys that are just tough as nails, you know, mainly like the Hawaiians. Like I've been training with the Hawaiians because those guys are always down to fight. You know what I mean? Like they're like, if there's a specific group of people that like on a moment's notice, you're like, hey man, do you want to spar? And I'm going to try to knock you out. And they're like, oh yeah, dude, let's do it. Like there's no question. Those guys are always down. And there's plenty of Hawaiians in Las Vegas. So I'm lucky to have those guys as training partners because they're always down to swing them.
Patchy mix term your gym to me Hawaiian top team because there is so many. I think if I was to try and list every single Hawaiian at your gym, I would miss 1 or 2 out because there's just so many.
Yeah, and they're all tough, and they're all actually, you know, the Hawaiians are like my favorite guys. They're super nice guys. You know what I mean? Like outside of training, they're super kind. They're fun people to be around. They're funny. And when it comes to training, like they try to take your head off. Like there's no in between with those guys. And you got to appreciate that because, you need guys like that in the gym. And it is like Hawaiian top team at you know, the Hawaiians are really like, as a group, they're probably the best, you know, athletes in the gym. So, yeah, we're lucky to have them in Vegas.
Of course. Well, obviously,
Patchy Mix is really good.
Patchy Mix is the man. Patchy Mix is very much in that bantamweight tournament in Bellator.
Yeah. I think he could win it. You know what I mean? I think he could win it. He's good. He's really good. His grappling is insane. You know, his guillotines and his back takes and stuff. Like, he's legit. Yeah.
I was hoping to get to Bellator Dublin where he submitted Gallagher. I live in Liverpool, so I'm just across from mainland Ireland, but unfortunately it never couldn't make it happen, but was very happy to see him silence the crowd over there.
Yeah, I'm sure they're pretty high on that guy. I don't necessarily think he's that good, man. Like Patchy told me he's fighting him. I was like, oh shit, you're gonna whoop this kid. And he's like, I don't know, man. They're not giving me much of a chance. I was like, man, it's because you're fighting him, you know, in his backyard. Like shit. Like of course, like Americans never get a chance. Even in America, Americans don't get a chance. Like everybody wants the other guy to win. Like you know, like Russians. Like it doesn't matter if you're good, you're bad, you're polarizing. Like Russian fans stick with Russians. You know what I mean? Like American fans stick with everybody else. Like we are the most unloyal motherfuckers there are. You know, like it's not like USA versus everybody else. It's like a handful. Like if you're from the Midwest, people from the Midwest might root for you. Maybe not. They might still be a fan of Khabib or somebody else. Like, you know, like you might be the American like superstar, and still, you know what I mean? Like half America's rooting for the Irish guy. Yeah. You know, you're like, what the hell? Like you're like, you were born on my team. You have to be on my team, but that's just not how it is here.
Well, we have quite a supportive background in the UK. We rarely support our fighters, but maybe it's because your country's so big. It's so big to support all you guys that Maybe because the smaller countries are more tight-knit and they have less fighters, they support them more loyally?
Yeah, I think it's more of a clout thing. You know what I mean? For Americans, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of casual fans in America. And it's a clout thing. It's like who do you like outside of the cage? Like that's who you root for, or who does something flashy and cool. Like those are the guys that Americans root for. You know what I mean? Like they're not really like, even though like on a personal level, like I would probably get along with 95% of American fans. You know what I mean? If they got to know me, like we would probably they would root for me.
Yeah.
But it's just to bridge that gap. You know what I mean? It's what they see on social media. It's it's how the media portrays them. And let's be honest, like I'm really not that exciting of a person. Like I'm just a pretty normal American dude that happens to be really good at fighting. So and I'm just not that big of an asshole online. I mean, kind of an asshole in person, but online I keep it pretty low key. I don't want my mom to think or know that I'm an asshole,
I don't think you're an asshole in either setting in person. Or I've never had the pleasure of meeting you in person, but our interactions have always been great. But I would attest to that you're as good of a person online as you are in the room, but maybe perhaps not in the cage with your opponent.
Well, this one in particular, I'm definitely not going to be a nice dude. I got to kill this guy. I don't have an option. I feel like my nuts are right next to a bandsaw, dude, and I gotta go out there and show people that I'm here to stay and that I'm one of the best guys in the world.
Yeah. Well, I want to finish by asking you just finally, what is the plan for? We're in early 2022 now. What's the plan for Cody Stamann within the calendar year? What's the plan for 12 months?
I gotta go up. Said is my only focus right now. I mean, my life ends January 20th. I haven't even thought past that. So after I do what I know I'm capable of, the 22nd, I'm the guy that takes the tough fights. I always have. Since I've been in the UFC, I've taken all the tough fights. I'm not going to handpick anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they're going to give me another tough dude after Said. So, and there's no shortage of absolute killers at bantamweight. So, this year, next year, every year of my fighting career is going to be me against, an elite dude in the world. And it's just going to be about me being able to implement the game plan and knock it out of these dudes. Like, I know that I'm capable of doing. And, maybe after I sit a few guys down, I'll have a few more Americans rooting for me.
Well, I very much look forward to seeing you back in action. Very much look forward to seeing the Americans rooting for you. Come January 22nd, and want to thank you for your time catching up.
Take anybody from the UK.
Of course. Well, before we finish, Cody, how can people find you on social media and any sponsors you want to plug, anything like that? The floor is yours.
Everything's just Cody Stamann. All my sponsors are on there. Just check out my Instagram. I'm not a big Twitter guy. So just Instagram. I mean, day-to-day life, everything's on there. So yeah, I look forward to putting on a show for you guys.